Good afternoon. The crowd is really thinning. This was a full house we had earlier. Now it is not even half full. In any case, I will give my presentation assuming that this is a full house. My name is Brhane GebreKidan. I have taken off my diaspora hat for the last several years and I'm a local now. By background, I've been at Alemaya College of Agriculture now at Alemaya University. I've been teaching there and doing research and doing some extension work altogether at Alemaya for many years. I left Alemaya and have been with International Center, ICRISAT and Summit, and after that I've been working for the last couple of decades for Virginia Tech. So I came to Ethiopia after my assignment at Virginia Tech. So I will proceed with my presentation. I hope you notice this picture. I wanted to make a preliminary comment on this picture. I come from a background that has seen modern agriculture at many places at the level of Ethiopia and in the US. And I could have chosen a more modern picture showing maybe tractors and combines and modern agriculture. But I just wanted you to realize that this is really the typical Ethiopian agriculture. This is the background. This is a picture I took in Motakaraniyo Road in Gojam. You see the oxen and plow, and you see the farmer carrying his plow. Maybe 90% of our food comes from this kind of agriculture. No. Okay. So the title of my presentation is Food Security and Agricultural Production. This is a challenge for Ethiopia in 2050. I'm representing the Ethiopian Academy of Sciences in this presentation. You can't see this, but anyway, I think you can. I hope you can see the slides. I just want to give you a very long, maybe outline of what I want to present. There are maybe 30 different topics I want to touch on in this presentation, and the topics maybe 1 to 9 are pretty much descriptive of what is going on in the area of food security and agriculture in Ethiopia. And maybe the last third of my presentation, items 10 to 13, will deal with futuristic look at what the Ethiopian government needs to do in the area of food security and agriculture. So I'm not going to read the outline, but you can see the outline as is. First, in the way of introduction and background of food security, first I think it is important for us to realize what food security is. Food security at the family level means the availability of food in sufficient quantity and nutritional quality to all members of a household at all times to enable them to lead healthy and productive life. And I think this is very important for all of us to realize. At the national level, food security means as many citizens as possible have access to good quality food in sufficient quantities at all times. I want to draw your attention to what the FAO recognizes as the 4 pillars of food security. at the country level or family level, you don't really have to produce food. There are many different ways you can have access to food. So what FAO recognizes as 4 pillars of food security are availability, access, utilization, and stability. In the context of Ethiopia, food security is historically linked with poverty, hunger, malnutrition, poor physical and cognitive development, and overall low productivity. We've been hearing much of this in many of the presentations. My presentation will focus on diverse strategies and approaches to improve production and productivity of the Ethiopian agriculture, since it is the main driver of the country's food security situation. I will touch on different elements of food security as it relates to agriculture to food production. The first one I want to touch on is improved technology and inputs availability. I just showed you at the beginning what Ethiopian agriculture looks like. And you can say the main agricultural food products of Ethiopia are primarily produced by smallholder farmers, and these are mostly grains, of which maybe 87% of the food that we produce in the country are cereals, 10% maybe pulses, and 3% oilseeds. And I think this pretty much describes the reality in the country. Large mechanized farms, which we see in the West, in many other parts of the world, are now rare in the country, although we had them in the past, in our history. As of the recent time, I don't know how many of you have seen this idea of cluster farming. Land fragmentation has been a big problem, but one of the ways to get around land fragmentation has been the use of cluster farming, that is, farmers in the neighborhood area come together and they put together all of their land and they operate it as a large size farm unit. And I think this is a very important development. When we think of modern agriculture, we all think often of improved mechanization in food security. Most of the farmer power and implements currently used in Ethiopia are, as you know, ages old. They really have not changed for a long time, coming from the use of oxen power and human labor and hand tools, which is really how we get much of our food. In the case of implements, starting from the oxen-pulled traditional plow, all the way to harvesting and storage tools, they are generally efficient and entail drudgery to the farmer. The adoption of modern mechanized tools in farming has a number of prerequisites, including availability of large-sized land, affordability of the farm implements, and availability of the machines, knowledge, and skills. All of these are prerequisites. We've heard a lot about rain-fed agriculture in this afternoon's presentation, rain-fed agriculture versus irrigated agriculture in the Ethiopian situation. I think we can say that shortage of moisture is the first limiting factor in crop production in most parts of the country. Hence, water conservation and efficient use is important. We can't really overemphasize that point. We need, I think we need more extensive use of irrigation in the Ethiopian food production system. And this is essential if chronic food insecurity experienced in much of the country is to be curtailed. There is really no alternative. I will dwell on this food irrigation in its production. We can't think of production using irrigation for one season. Irrigation gives you the potential to use the same land several times during the year. So you are tripling, quadrupling your yield by using irrigation. Even this gives you opportunity to even increase yield in one season. Water conservation measures are very broad. We have to use many different measures, and countries that have relied on irrigation have used many different strategies of conserving water. In our situation, water harvesting using various techniques are very important. We can use building ponds, building microdams, more extensive use of streams and river waters, underground water and boreholes in many parts of the country can be exploited, and in many situations, in situ water conservation, that is using the soil as moisture bank, can be used. So large-scale irrigation, such as those restricted to the main river valleys and dams, should receive the special attention of the government of Ethiopia and all others concerned. Crop protection is a very important issue. This morning, if you heard Professor Fontaine talking about pests and diseases stealing our harvest, crop protection is very important, both at the pre and post-harvest level. Farmers have to take many multi-pronged approaches to control pests, diseases, and weeds. Often the integrated pest management strategy, that is IPM, that's employing a combination of tactics, including genetic tactics, biologic tactics, cultural and chemical, using chemical as a last resort, are cost-effective, friendly to the environment, and often keep pest under economic threshold. By this I'm referring to IBM. Post-harvest losses are often significant if structures suitable for the producer's unique situation and the environment are not used. I want to briefly mention watershed management. I think many of the speakers earlier mentioned that these are good too. The importance of watershed management in Ethiopia to enhance agricultural production and natural resource conservation. This is very, I just can't overemphasize this issue, the importance of watershed management. Proper management of the soil and water resources at the watershed level is the foundation of a productive ecosystem, essential for food security and environmental health. There is really no alternative to that. Integrated watershed management is the integration of technologies within the natural boundaries of a drainage area for optimum development and management of land, water, and plant resources. Increased human and livestock population in Ethiopia in general have aggravated the decline of soil fertility on crop plants as misuse. This has to be reversed for the well-being of the present and future generations of our country. Very briefly, I can't really just pass the importance of livestock production improvement to contribute to food security in the country. This is a very important segment of our food security equation. Ethiopia is, as we all know, endowed with vast and rich livestock resources which need improved management to make them more productive. I think that's a general statement I want to make. Livestock products such as milk and milk products, meat and eggs are in short supply and expensive in most parts of the country, particularly in the urban centers. Aggressive steps need to be taken urgently to improve the productivity and production of dairy, beef, sheep, goats, poultry, and fish. The basic infrastructure, institutions, policy instruments, and regulatory system essential for the production and marketing of livestock goods and services are very poorly developed in the country, and this need to be improved. Priority should be given to the feed and forage development sector, because livestock development can't really be improved without improving the feed and forage sector. This is very important. On the other hand, livestock diseases and health, guided by sufficient number of experienced veterinarians, need very special attention when we talk about food security using animal resources. Very briefly on biotechnology. Biotechnology, as you all know, is the modern strategy in many places to improve agriculture and focus on GMO crops for us, genetically modified organisms, crops of that kind, and their potential to improve crop production in Ethiopia is very important. Countries with long years of high adoption tradition, such as USA, Brazil, Argentina, Canada, and India, are the top 5 global when we talk about the use of GMOs. And the lead crops in this area are soybeans, maize, cotton, and canola, and many of them are common to our country also. The main characteristics of the GMOs that are being used in these countries are mostly insect-resistant, herbicide-tolerant, or stacked traits, a combination of insecticide resistance and herbicide tolerance. 3 minutes, okay. But I've been told I have only 3 minutes, so very briefly, I just want to mention to you that the Ethiopian Academy of Sciences organized an Africa-wide biotechnology conference. In that conference, the African Academy of Sciences endorsed the use of GMOs in African context. I think I'll follow, since the organizer is telling me I can look at these pictures. These are really the most important issues I wanted to raise with you, items, the next 4 items. Number 1, the most important item for us, if we are going to resolve our food security situation, is to really strengthen institutions that deal with it. In the broadest term, we have to use education, research, and extension in the fashion of the US, the land grant system, where you combine all of these streams to contribute to food security. The other one is, the other point I want to mention to you, again, hopefully I will discuss this later on if there is time during the discussion. That is, we have a great opportunity to engage agricultural college graduates in commercial agriculture. We need to use land, we need to use human resources, and if you are going to really improve technology, you have to use trained people. And we have thousands and thousands of trained Ethiopians who apparently are underemployed, and this is a great potential we need to exploit. And this point, you can quickly read the items I have said, I have indicated, specialty areas, and I want to mention that there were successful examples in the past. Many of you who are as old as I am remember in the Awash Valley, there were very successful commercial farms led by alumni college graduates, and they used to tell us that they were harvesting white gold. Actually, they were harvesting lots of cotton, which was compared to gold. And these are the items, the policy items the government has to pay attention if we are going to engage trained Ethiopians, college graduates in agriculture. And you can just look at them. I don't have time to go into them. The last point, the most important one that I wanted to really dwell on is the use of the Green Revolution, using the experiences from other countries where the Green Revolution has been very successful. The example I wanted to dwell on is the example of India. India has been very successful in the past, maybe in the last 50 years. If you were looking around the world and we are looking for a country that was hungry and that was really stricken by famine, the example that came to mind was India. Now we have taken India's place in that respect. India has been very successful in engaging the Green Revolution and really improving its food production, and we just have to emulate the ideas which India has used in engaging Green Revolution, and some of the components of the Green Revolution are shown on the slide. You can read them quickly. The chairman is telling me to stop. The Green Revolution, some items of the Green Revolution are these ones, but there is one last slide I want to rush to. These are all the Green Revolution items I wanted. And this is the last slide I want to really dwell on as a take-home message. As a conclusion, we were reminded by the organizers that we have to really bring items, calls for government of Ethiopia action. And these are 5 actions I want to suggest to the government of Ethiopia as part of my presentation. Number 1, engaging agriculture, college graduates in modern and commercial agriculture. I think it is very important if we are going to solve our long-term food security, we have to engage college graduates, number 1. Number 2, we have to deal with institution building for improved food security, that is integrating education, research, and extension. Now we have 50 different universities, maybe 50, more than 50. All of them can be engaged in this. And the third one is really emulating the Indian experience, Green Revolution strategies adoption, imitating the Indian experience is one way to solve our food security problem. Rain-fed versus irrigated agriculture, I think we have to give priority to irrigated agriculture. The last point, which Professor Desalegn earlier pointed out, is the one that I want to leave you with as a last message. That is, land is an overarching issue which is crying for an urgent federal government of Ethiopia study, intelligent dialogue, and urgent policy response for the good of tomorrow's Ethiopia we all want. Thank you.
Intelligent dialogue. With that note, I want to thank again Professor Brhane GebreKidan. Our next speaker is Dr. Atsede Endegnanew. I haven't collected their bios, so I'm asking all speakers to briefly introduce themselves and then proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Atsede. I'm an electrical engineer, power engineer, and I've been working as a researcher for 9 years. My research focus has been on integration of renewables into the power system and also operation and control of the power system. I have several publications in the area, and currently I'm working as a consultant here in Addis, and I'm also chairwoman for Ethiopian Women in Energy Association. So today my presentation is going to be on distribution grids, how they would look like in 2050, and what role smart grid technologies and digitalization would play in the integration of renewables. So the talk would fall under the energy demand theme of the conference. So I foresee that there will be three main reasons for the increase in demand in electrical energy. So the first one is increase in number of consumers. Currently, less than half of the population has access to electricity, and the government has a plan to provide electricity within the next 5 years to reach that number up to 100%. So that translates into 14 million new customers within the next 5 years alone. In addition to that, the expected increase in population will also place a higher demand on electrical energy. The second reason is electrification of energy use. If we look at the total energy consumption in Ethiopia currently, 90% of it is from biomass. It's used for cooking, lighting, and heating purposes. But with the increase in household income and also urbanization, this biomass energy will shift into electrical energy. In addition to that, people will not use electricity not only for lighting purpose, but they will also start using it to run appliances. So there will be a higher consumption per customer. Third reason is that there will be growth in industries, manufacturing, transportation, and other sectors that are energy intensive. So all these reasons combined will be driving the electrical energy demand in the country. Before I talk about 2050 scenario, I just want to state some facts about the current system. Only 44% of the population has access to electricity, And the plan for the 2025 is to give 100% access through grid and mini grids. So 65% of the population will be on grid connection, and 35% will be on off-grid connection. The distribution grid, it has a very high loss. More than 25% of the total energy generated is lost in the distribution grid. This is because it's an old structure with aging components that needs refurbishment and also upgrade. And it's also one of the main reasons for the low reliability of the distribution grid. So from this, we can say that most of the grid is going to be built in the future. What we have now, it needs to be upgraded, and in the next 5 years or 10 years or so, we're going to be building lots of grids. The graph you see here is from International Energy Agency, Energy Outlook, that was published last month. It shows two scenarios for Ethiopia. The stated scenario is according to the energy policies the country has, and the African case is an optimistic version of that if we had higher progress in the economic development. But in both scenarios, we see that the generation is going to increase significantly. It will increase 4 to 7 folds within the next 20 years. This is the scenarios they have. Hydropower will continue to dominate the source of energy, to be the dominant source, but wind, solar, and geothermal will have a significant share as well. So this type of resources, they are distributed in nature, so they will be captured in a distributed manner as well. I want to make a statement saying that future distribution grid is going to be an active distribution network. But before that, I want to just define what an active distribution network is. In the passive network, or the traditional system, power is generated by large generators and then transmitted into the transmission system to the distribution end consumer. So there is one unidirectional type of power flow from generation to transmission distribution. The end consumers, they do not participate in the power system at all except to consume power. So they are passive consumers in a way. On the other hand, in active distribution networks, there will be distributed generations that are connected to the distribution system directly. Solar, wind, and small-scale hydro will be these distributed generators. And most of the time, the power from these generators will be used to supply the demand in that distribution grid in that area. But in times of higher generation and low demand, there will be power flowing from the distribution grid into the transmission system. So there will be a reverse type of power flow. This type of systems will have smart grid components to monitor and control the generation, but also loads or households that can participate